Welcome, everyone. So we are also welcoming everyone online. So if you are online, I welcome you as well. We're all here together. We have a lot of people who are new today, so thank you for coming. And we have some people here who have no idea who I am, who've never seen me on YouTube, which is awesome too. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking about that. This event is all about channeling. So if you don't know what channeling is, okay, we have a couple people. Awesome. So you're going to learn all about that today. What channeling is, what it's all about. You're going to experience a live channeling. This is going to be a mix today of conscious and trance channeling. And that's who I am and what I do. So I've been here with the Flower of Life, which is the organization supporting us today, for about 4 or 5 years. Stepped into this world at a time in my life when I was a completely different person than I am today. Had no idea this would be where I would end up, but nonetheless had a very interesting awakening that led me down this path of discovery. And I think we all, as you know, because if you're here, you're obviously in the midst of some type of a spiritual evolution. We all have them in our lives. And I don't think there's just one. It's been my experience that there are many. So my journey started with chronic pain. And many of us, I know, go through these challenges in our lives where we have something arise that is difficult to go through. It might be a relationship. It might be in your physical body. What I've come to understand is that these times in our lives, these experiences are catalysts for us to change, evolve, and ascend. We often don't look at them that way. We often look at them as something we don't want to happen because we're pretty comfortable where we were before. And pain in the body was the announcement to me that something had to change in my life pretty big. But at the time, I was here in this kind of mainstream world, disconnected from anything spiritual. As a matter of fact, wasn't even on the radar of going in any kind of a spiritual direction. But nonetheless, the universe changed things for me, kind of initiated an upheaval in my life for me to have the opportunity to check out a different path. And that's exactly what happened. So I believe that when we're going through these karmic experiences like pain or difficulty in our relationships, whatever, we'll always receive opportunities from the universe to become the new person that we're meant to become through those changes. And so I started to check out things like meditation. My family made a move across town. I ended up in a neighborhood that was completely different from where I was before. I was a stay-at-home mom in a conventional mainstream world. I ran the local PTA, the bake sale, the Girl Scout organizations, the church social group, you name it, I was in charge, and found myself in chronic pain on the other side of town in a world that I couldn't make any of that happen. Started checking out on this path that had opened up for me, meditation, because I was told it would help disconnect me from my pain, which at that point in my life, this chronic pain had become quite an issue. I was seeing Western medicine doctors, PT, I had been prescribed all kinds of pain medications, I was running tests, and year after year getting worse and worse, to the point where I had numbness in my leg. I had so much pain in my hip and lower back that I was having my nerves severed every 6 months. I had stopped driving because I was afraid to drive my children. I had gained a lot of weight. I was washing all of the pills down with alcohol at 5 o'clock every night and had to take a pretty hard look at myself in the mirror. So meditation became my focal point for making this physical change in my life. But what it actually did was it made a very big vibrational shift underneath the surface that caused so many things to happen in my physical world that I could not have crafted that as beautifully as it unfolded. So I began to meditate very religiously. I'm the firstborn A-type personality, do everything to perfection. Was meditating 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, evening, and began to notice some really interesting things happening. During my meditations, I was hearing things. I was outside of meditation, hearing things that in conversation with people, they didn't say out loud. And I was negating all of this as my mind, that my mind was too busy during my meditations. I really had to get my mind out of the picture. But actually, I was a pretty excellent meditator because right off the bat, I went into this vibration where communication was coming in the field in all these different forms. And so here I was, not familiar with any of this, didn't even know what channeling was, and had to make heads or tails out of what was happening in my life. Well, in the physical world, I was drawing things to me that were the impetus for my healing. I just happened to walk into exactly the right practitioner who finally gave me a diagnosis. I have an abnormality in my hip joint. Probably been there since birth. I had no idea. Maybe while I was giving birth, it showed up. Don't know. Nonetheless, it's still there today, but I'm 100% pain-free, off all meds, and just fine. However, this practitioner had very specialized experience with what I was going through and started to rehabilitate me. I was sent to books. I was sent to nutritionists. I completely changed my diet. I ended up in a house when I made this move where there was a reverse osmosis filter in the basement, filtering the fluoride out of my water. I had no idea fluoride was detrimental to this type of communication, but here I was, detoxing my body. I was learning about organic foods versus eating Roundup in our conventional diets. I took everything out of my pantry, started eating organic. Now I'm connecting more and more and more. I'm meditating more. My outer world's reflecting the inner, and it's just like the glue that brought it in. I mean, my entire world changed. I went from that stay-at-home conventional mom, Catholic PTA vice president, to an intuitive channel in the world, which is a stark change. I had a defining moment that I want to share that was really the impetus for me to dive in because I had really no desire to take this on as, a mission. But from the moment I started connecting, I was told that I had a mission here and that I was here to be a channel in the world. I was here to bring messages through about a very significant planetary change that would take place on the planet. I had no idea what that was. I had no interest in fulfilling that mission. As a matter of fact, I, resisted it for quite some time. But I had this interesting thing happen. It was during Christmas, 2010, and I was making a meal for my kids, my whole family. Right? I'm the oldest, so the whole family comes for dinner. And I was making a very special recipe that required some very special ingredients that I don't typically have in the house. Got up to make this meal, went to the pantry, opened the door, really excited to make this meal. Realized I forgot to purchase these very unique ingredients. Thought, oh no, I have a dinner party here. What am I going to do? I started pushing things around. I got a stool out, and I started to get really stressed. And so stress in that time in my life was a cue to me that my pain would escalate. So stress equaled pain, stress equaled meditation. I went straight into the bedroom. Closed the door, went into a very deep meditation that day. And I heard 3 words in this very deep male voice. And it was as if this being was in the room with me. And this being said, "I am Jacob." And it was so loud, I was startled out of the meditation, opened my eyes, started to look around, tried to communicate back with Jacob, and didn't really get anywhere that day. But I thought, this is silly. I can, mock this thing up. I walked out the door, went into the kitchen, opened the pantry, and there on the shelf in a very neat row, right in front of my eyes, were the unique ingredients that I needed in sealed containers. So I thought, oh my gosh, this Jacob heard me. He knew I was struggling. I manifested something into physical. That really sent me on the quest. So I started to get really curious. I got almost a little angry because I had all these beings talking to me, and I thought, what is this all about? Who are you? What do you want with me? Why are you here? So I really started to question. And this led me into a path that unfolded for me with Flower of Life. I magnetized a new tribe. I got a lot of answers to those questions. I found out that Jacob was actually a special guide for me. He was a small boy who we in a past life had a relationship, and he was lost and in need of support, and I took him in and clothed him and fed him and cared for him in that life, and he came back indebted to me in this life, in this way, in spirit form, to guide me back into the remembrance of who I am and what I'm here to do. So as I stepped into this journey and manifested the experiences, the people, the places, and things to really pull it out of me, I actually began to remember things from my childhood, that I actually did this as a kid. I remember as a young child having these two-way communications going on all day long in my head with spirit. Some I didn't know was spirit, right? I thought it was just my mind making it up. But I shut that down in me through the years, and it just reemerged in the midst of this incredible journey that allowed me to not only heal my physical body, but honestly heal my entire life. So here I am today, a channel in the world. And for those of you who don't know what channeling is, I believe we're all channels. We're all channels for spirit guidance. Channeling is just allowing a telepathic communication between physical and non-physical. It's your ability to tune in, tap into information in your extrasensory energy field. Some of us are channels in our bodies. We're empathic. We can tune in to information in the body about something, somebody. Like if you've ever gotten that pit of the stomach, like this person isn't for me, right? That's channeling. That's picking up on information in the field in a way that's non-physical. Some have the ability of sight, like Barb. She's actually channeling the energy of crystals and spirit and picking up on intuitive messages visually. I am clairaudient, and that's how it started for me, and it's continued to expand. However, I can also, now that this clairaudience has taken center stage, feel in the body as well. So when spirit is present in the room, like when Barb says, we've got 3 beings over there, I feel that energy. I get this kind of heightened, blissful, buzzy feeling on my side, and I just know that spirit's here. As a matter of fact, when that happens to me at home, I stop what I'm doing. I always try to stop what I'm doing and listen. Because sometimes I'm like, I don't want to talk right now. We got to go. My daughter's got to get to lessons. But I know that there's something important that needs to come in. As I've allowed this to expand, my gift of inner sight is really become prominent, especially in my session work, which I do. I'm able to tune in and see past lives and symbols and images in my mind. And even when the guides are coming in to heal, I get flashes of them now where I can see their faces. And it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. So what we're going to experience today is a part of why I'm here, which is updating everyone about what's happening on the planet. Because what I was told was my mission was to support light workers through a very difficult time on the planet. If you are here, you are one. If you are out there, you are one. We are all here, I think, in this time on the planet to usher in a new energetic experience for humanity. And that's all that light work is. It's living at your highest potential to assist in some way the collective transition that's taking place. And after we talk a little bit about what's going on the planet, I'm going to do a live channeling. So I'm going to step aside and go into a state of trance and allow the beings, the guides that are here to step in, and they will always offer a general message to update us on what's most important for us to know. And then I take questions. So we will pass around a microphone, and you can raise your hand if you have a question for the guides about anything. It can be personal, it can be collective. If it's really unique to you, we might want to try to phrase it in a way that helps everybody, because this is a collective experience, okay? You're a part of this. So your vibration being here in these chairs, and all of you out there who are also a part of this event, are the cause and effect for why the messages will come in the way that they do and how we will facilitate this energy. So I appreciate you being here. And also feel free to ask questions, okay, because this is interactive. I like to know where you guys are and what you're experiencing, because that just assists all of us in connecting the dots with what we're in the midst of right now. Okay? Questions about channeling, what I do. I know I did that real fast. Okay. All right, so I want to speak for a few minutes about what's been happening here on the planet. And those of you who are here who have been tuning into my videos on YouTube and watching the channelings know that we've just gotten past a series of very significant influences in planetary shifts. We've been in the midst of this for a very long time, obviously. But I would say, for those of you who's familiar with, we're talking a lot about the event right now, right? The event. Yeah, I hesitate to even call it that because I don't think it's one event. I just think it's a series of energies. It's just a phase that we're going through. And a lot of people that call it the event are defining it as this one thing that's awakening everybody. And I don't see it as one thing. I see it as many. However, I do believe we're past some of the most intense period of transition at the soul vibration with these planetary influences. And I don't know how many of you feel that. It's almost like this open space, right, that we're walking into beyond where we've just been thrown around and shuffled around really quickly. So let me talk about what the event was made of, what those components are, and then talk about what we're going into from here. Because, you know, we as soul vibration, we as soul beings, we as vibrational beings in a physical bodysuit are the conduit for how everything takes place on this planet. So I just downloaded a really interesting article yesterday from what the guides or the collectives call the Master Collective Unity of Light. They're just an assembly of beings that are archangels, masters that have walked a human incarnation that come back to assist us. So this collective is made up of Michael, Gabriel, Kuan Yin, a variety of others like that. What they're saying is that we get really caught up sometimes in focusing on the planetary alignments. And I am a huge believer in astrology. I follow it for my life, for my kids' life, for the collective. But we've had some really significant ones lately. And so sometimes we look at those planetary influences and we say, oh, this is what's going to happen, and this is how. But what they came in to say is that all of these planetary influences are opportunities. In the same way I was just talking about the opportunity that I had in my life. So going through this really difficult thing in my physical body, I had opportunities show up that allowed me to make the change that I made. But I had free will, right? I could have been in so much fear of this path or so much discomfort around these really dramatic changes in my life. I could have just said no. I could have stayed where I was. I could have evolved there. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with the life that I led. But nonetheless, the reason that all of that stuff happened for me was that I had a series of planetary alignments that came to trigger something within me that was an intention that I had to remember who I was. Right? So source energy is good because before we come here from this collective vantage point, we choose these opportunities. We hold them in our structure. They're like coded in us. And when a planetary alignment comes, it offers us all of this opportunity to change our reality. So opportunity is the theme that I want to talk about in the collective because we just had a very significant, what was it, Ethan? Uranus enter Taurus. And so this is becoming the impetus on the planet in the collective for a lot of change that we are counting on happening and that a lot of people out there are predicting will happen. But what the guides are saying is that we are the impetus. We carry the energy of that alignment within us. And the way that we respond to everything that's happening in our own lives is the vehicle for change in how the collective is able to implement what these planetary energies are bringing in. So let me give you an example of this. We just had a very strong lunar influence. We had a full moon this past week. And usually when we have the full moons, we are experiencing an uprising of density. These lunar influences, they almost come like a magnet to draw out of us the stuff we don't need anymore, or the stuff we really need to see that needs to change. And that's why during full moons, people go a little, we get a little agitated, right? Because we're seeing it all around us in the field, the people, the things that are the rub for what we're here to release. So we have a choice in that moment. In the midst of that full moon and all the stuff that's coming up, we get to, in this vehicle, apply our consciousness to the situation. Or we can respond in the way we've always responded to this stuff in the past. So when we have these very intense lunar frequencies, we have an opportunity. We have stuff coming up in the field, and in the way that we perceive and relate to it is the clearing process that allows the collective to actually receive the benefit. So we truly are, in the midst of our own singular experience, causing change here on the planet. And the solar energies are even more, I would say, a part of this example, because I'm going to get Segment. I've been pulling Segment in all day. If you're familiar with her, she talks a lot about the solar, and she's been saying that the solar frequencies are they're like this storage bank of information. So when we're hit with tremendous solar frequencies, what's happening is we are hit with all this information that it's like an influx that comes in. And within our DNA, we're drawing from the record cosmic information. We're advancing our gifts. We are pulling in fragmented soul pieces from other lives that assist us in expansion. And we've had so much of that. And a lot of people look at that sometimes in their physical reality as a fearful change, right? I mean, I went through it myself, and I continue to go through it. It's not just one, it's many. And it was not something I invited in. This communication that I had from spirit, this whole transition to a channel, it wasn't something I planned on. A lot of unknown around that. It was very fearful for me to step into that role. And I think that on the planet right now, we have a lot of that coming up in people. A lot of new awareness, a lot of new ideas, a lot of tapping into new information. And so this space that we're in, we really have to also integrate the divine feminine, which is, I think, another catalyst for this event that we've been talking about. So we're talking about planetary influences 1, divine feminine 2. Back in 2017, if you've been following my channeling, guides talked about a Christed code within Earth that became triggered and aligned to. This Christed code is a divine feminine Christ consciousness code. It connected through all of us, and it's what's helping us to balance the masculine and feminine energies. Simply, masculine is the mind and the physical body. Feminine is the emotional body and the spiritual body. So we've kind of been pulled apart in our energy fields because we've been so dominantly focused in masculine and creating in masculine, the mind and physical, that we've disconnected ourselves from the emotional and the spiritual bodies, which are meant to complement what we do and how we create. So divine feminine is like compassion, right? It's stepping into these planetary energies and the stuff that's going on in the physical and being able to take a breath, right? And not walking into fear and being overwhelmed by all of this, but looking at your physical life, the linear timeline that you're on, and realizing it's being really supported right now. It's just being really complemented right now by a lot of stuff. And so the third part of this is the old grid to new grid shift. Okay, so we have planetary alignments. We have divine feminine Christed code, which is feminine masculine balance, grids. We have an old grid system. I know you guys who follow my channeling, we talk about this all the time. This old grid system is just the way that we created grids. The definition of a grid is how information flows between 2 points. We have grids within us as singular beings. The planet has a grid, the universe has a grid, and this is how we manifest. It's how we connect to things, create our experience. So we were creating in a masculine energy that was focused in the mind and in physical. We created a grid. That grid holds the information of all of our creations, and it vibrates at a speed that's a little lower than who and where we are now. But as we've been ascending and receiving these planetary alignments and this more, I would say, this influx or this more attuned masculine, feminine energy, we've been able to create a new grid system. Everything that we're creating that vibrates in a higher speed has caused this new grid to stabilize. And so when we think about things like blockchain technology, when we think about free energy technology, healing modalities that are coming to the earth, these are the timelines that have stabilized this new grid. This new grid is an open source channel, works differently than what we know the old grid works. The old grid is related to time and money and limitation and competition and singular. You know, I'm here on this earth having to make it happen and having to fight for resources because if I don't get this, someone else is going to get this. And that's really not the way we were designed to create. So this new grid that's stabilized now is another factor that came into this article about how we need to interact in our timelines. A lot of us are getting these new ideas, this influx of new energy, new ideas, and we're trying to force it into the old grid. We're trying to push it into competition and time and things that don't work. And I can't tell you how many sessions I've had in the last several weeks where people have come to me with vibrational currency issues. Money, which is of course the main one, but even just people around them to support what they're doing or the experience that they need to expand what they're here to do. This is because they're taking their new idea and forcing it into an old grid alignment. It's like a past and old belief that we have here that's dying right now. It's a reptilian grid. Okay, reptilian is the mind and physical. This new grid is multi-dimensional, connects to universal support. It's brought in a variety of new beings to support us here, and it's assisting us in moving into this enlightened age that we think all of these planetary influences are the only factor for.
Is that the same as the 4 dimensions?
It is. So dimension, sorry, we need to have a mic for questions. So the question was, is this the difference between the 3rd and the 5th dimension? I look at it that way. Dimensions are only, the difference between dimensions is only how much information we have access to. And the speed of vibration allows us in each dimension to access information. So this new grid is multidimensional, but for Earth it means holding a 5th dimension, you see? So I don't think that grid in itself is only limited to 5D. I think it gives us the opportunity to go beyond 5D, but it's the impetus for us bringing 5D to the Earth. Does that make sense? Okay. One more factor is the pole reversal. So I've been talking a lot about a reversal of the poles that's going on within the Earth, and this is, to your end, the question that you've asked. I think the beginning of this huge dimensional shift or holding the 5th dimension here, because the poles and the way that information flows through the poles and through the grid lines of the Earth had to also realign and change for us to support what's coming in through this new grid. So it's like our grid systems inside our meridians, when we have something go on vibrationally or physically, we change, right? If we have a surgery or, we shift our consciousness, our physical material and our meridians in the body will actually support some type of a change. And we go through this, as you know, in a variety of different ways. We might have an energy healing and we've got to rest for a full day afterwards. That's because our meridians are now shifting and changing energetically to make us a new person, to bring us into a new awareness. That's going on in Earth, right? So we are electromagnetically connected to all of that stuff, the poles and the way that the magnetics flow through the earth. This has taken a lot of people down in their physical material. This has been exhaustion. This has been fogginess. It's been a lot of diseases coming to the surface to clear. I kind of feel like we're past that. The guides have talked a lot about nervous system, the nervous system issue with this. Our meridians, they connect through our channels of the physical body, which are hormones. When we have a lot of stress going on in the earth and our meridians are connected to that, our hormones react to it, we can feel a lot of stress in the body. Right? This can show up in a lot of different ways, emotional, physical. But there's been a big letdown of this in the field. So if you're somebody who's been really stressed lately or had a lot of stress in the body, been anxious, kind of notice the space that's coming in now and the letdown of that, or if you've had any big dramatic physical change that's taken place in the last couple of weeks, I think it's reminiscent of what's going on within the earth, okay? So we have a lot going on. What's next? That's the interesting part, because we have this beautiful space that we're walking into that I think is different. And dimensional reality, again, access to information, what the guides have said is that we're holding more of a fourth dimensional reality here on the earth. We still have people that are operating in that old grid, that are creating timelines in that old grid. That doesn't matter. What matters is, as a collective, we're holding a higher dimension. This is important. I think this is really good news. What the guides have been saying is what we've been doing, the way we've been responding to these planetary energies and our own karma has paid off. It's like a big pat on the back. So this article that I downloaded, it was really just kind of confirmation for us that we're doing the work in our singular reality to actually hold the vibration of what these planetary alignments and opportunities are causing, which is awesome. So if we just continue to do that in very subtle ways, we're riding this wave into a future reality that has been predicted by these planetary alignments, but we're the ones that are grounding. We're the ones that are creating. It can't look a certain way. It can only evolve as unique as we are in our structures. So I think what we're walking into here in the summer to fall months is a lot of transition and change vibrationally. So the guides will show us oftentimes in session that we're always creating in the field non-physically first before we ground the material of that change. We know this, law of attraction, right? We create, we project through time, and these timelines, they vibrate, and when we match them, they manifest. So we've had a lot going on beneath the surface, a lot of vibrational creation, a lot of stuff in our field. And this space that we're walking into is us choosing now how we want to manifest that, because time moves quicker in this open grid. So where we used to have to push it in physical or put in a certain amount of time to receive a certain amount of money, when we choose an identity and we boldly step into that choice, or we choose an activity or something we want to create and we boldly step into that creation, all those potentials that are in the vibrational field are going to merge together. There's been a lot of fragmentation we've been talking about in my last several sessions, that soul pieces have been coming up in fragments, and we kind of feel like they're pulling us in all these different directions. Like, I could do this, I could do that, I'm interested in this, oh my gosh, maybe I should go here. And it's been kind of confusing because we've thought, what if we choose wrong? What if we choose wrong? But that's what the guides are saying about this influx of energy, that we've created here moving into summer and fall. It's really the allowance of that vibrational energy that we've created to manifest and come together. And so stepping boldly into that, it's our choice. This space isn't here to hold you back, because a lot of people in session have been saying that this space that they're walking into feels difficult because there's no people there. There's no money there. They don't know what to do there. And so the impetus is to, oh my gosh, quick and physical, do something to make it better. Vibration, we have to put first. And we have to remember we couldn't be these new people if they weren't already imprinted in our energy. So even though they're not here on the planet in physical yet, they're beneath the surface, these new humans that we are. So if we take a few minutes just to breathe into this space and relax into what's coming and really direct our energy through intention, we reap the benefits of what's happened in the last, really since 2012. But I would say this event that we're talking about, that's kind of been the crux of all of it evolving and coming to the surface. And now it's here. It's around us in non-physical. So don't get caught up when you don't see things moving in physical yet. Really breathe on this and allow yourself to choose the things that delight, excite you. Project through time to see yourself in the shoes that you believe yourself to be. And it's all there. Right? The speed of vibration that we are in the midst of is a collective vibration. So collective works different than this old reptilian grid. We don't have to do so much in physical. We're always going to have to do in physical. All right, let me just caveat this. We wanted to be physical. We thought it was going to be fun to be physical. We wanted to put this energy of collective vibration into this physical vehicle and work magic. So there's always going to be physical things to do. But the masculine mind wants to force things that your female self knows can work much smoother and easier in this new grid. Collective energy means we're reconnecting now to people, places, and things that much quicker. And every decision that we make in non-physical is that much more, I'd say, attuned to affecting everything else. And so allow that to take place. We're pulling and drawing, this is another message that came in, pulling and drawing more of our tribe energy. So specifically, one of my channelings this week was talking about twin flames. And we have this perception that the twin flame is like the one, is like the one, the twin flame is here to save my life and help me and make me feel loved. But we have a lot of twin flame energy coming in different forms right now. These are like members of our cosmic family on Earth. So you might be predisposed to some kind of Arcturian DNA, and you're going to find yourself in the midst of some Arcturian friends that are here to support your work or are here to help you in some way to expand your work or your identity. So that's another thing that's coming, I would say summer to fall months, is drawing in these new people, places, things, this tribe, okay, that this energy is supporting. Questions? Sorry, no, I'm talking really fast. Questions? Comments? How are we doing on? Oh, my name? My name is Micheila Sheldan. Nice to meet you. Thank you for being here. Okay, do we have more time? Oh, you have a question? Go ahead. Well, hold on, we'll wait for the mic. Yes. Just so we want the world out there to hear the question before I answer it.
I was just wondering if there's certain ways to manifest at the highest way you can. Mm-hmm. Do you have to be a vegan, or do you have to exercise 30 minutes a day, or meditate 20 minutes twice a day?
Good question. We'll let the guides answer that one too. So when I channel, bring that question back in. I had just listened back to a channeling this week that I did in February. And at the end of the channeling, someone asked a similar question. They said, do I have to be a vegan in order to raise my vibration? Or they asked the Pleiadians this question, what are your 5 top tools for manifestation and raising your vibration? And they said, we can't answer that question for you as a collective because you're all unique. But the interesting thing that they said was, don't try to force yourself into doing something that everyone else is doing that doesn't feel right to you. So in other words, if you think that being a vegan is something that's required for you to ascend, and being a vegan makes you insane because it's so hard to implement in your life, you are stepping so far away from manifesting what you need in this life to ascend that it's not worth it. That choosing the paths that make you the most happy and comfortable are the best ways to raise your vibration. because we're so unique, it's really important sometimes that we take a fast vibrationally and physically from all of that stuff, because let's kind of bring in like the law of attraction, because we know a lot of people follow the law of attraction and all these different tools and techniques and try to manifest what they're here to manifest. There's nothing wrong with the law of attraction and using those tools, but the problem is we've been putting even the law of attraction and manifestation into an old grid. Right? So we think we need to manifest something in physical because if we don't, somebody else is going to get it, or, you know, we need to be in this certain kind of a life. And we have these ascension codes, okay, these karmic codes built into us, not to suffer, but because we really wanted to uncover something about our unique story here that was going to be relevant for the collective. So if we can't be in our uniqueness and allow ourselves to express what we're here to express and choose the things that we're here to choose, we'll never get to that point, right? So for me, people ask, well, what type of meditation did you do? How did you do it? You know, I don't know. I fell into meditation so easily, and it just worked for me. The process I brought in, I made it up. Like, I'm not kidding. I made it up. It just worked for me. And so if you're following someone else's practice and it's not working for you, you need to allow yourself to change it so it works for you, right? And here's the thing, like our expectations sometimes narrow the field of manifestation. And so the guys have been bringing in a lot of information about resistance lately. We might not think we're in resistance, but we're trying so hard to manifest something that we're creating a lot of resistance because we can't be in the present moment with what is and be in neutrality around what is enough to allow what's to come to be here. Because you've already got everything that you need energetically within your field. When you relax around what's to come just wants to seep back in, as opposed to us saying, it's not here, so I need a process. We actually create resistance that narrows or siphons off that field of source energy. Vibrationally speaking, I do recommend that if there are things in your life that are causing your vibration to feel as if it's not at its highest place, that you set some boundaries around those things. And you probably know what those are. You know, those can be people in our lives. That can be music. We're all sensitive to certain things, like even Wi-Fi, for example. Some of us are more sensitive to man-made frequencies, toxins. You know, I support a healthy diet and I do eat vegan, but I didn't eat vegan because I said I had to eat vegan so I could channel better. I started to connect and channel, and the meat went away. Vegan chose me. I didn't choose being vegan because I just couldn't do it anymore. So if you're present with who you are and what's happening, you'll always make the choices that support, what's within. Does that make sense? Ask the guides that question when I channel, because I want to hear their take. They usually say it better than me.
So recently I had an experience 3 days ago where I met a myomassagist, Reiki healer kind of person. Mm-hmm. And this was in a completely sober state, just to set the floor. When we had our interaction, it was around 11 hours long. And 5 hours into it, I started experiencing telepathy for the first time. Mm. And then, so some just things happen where I just believe this person, whatever she said, I believe, because it just felt so natural, like I was talking to myself. Mm-hmm. And she said she's experienced teleportation and certain things, and I just was so interested, like it's like our vibrations started to match, and I recognized, I experienced God consciousness at some point in my life, and then it like diminished completely. Mm-hmm. I kind of like fell completely to sleep. Mm-hmm. And being around her, it like started to jumpstart a little bit, and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting back to who I am again. So now it's like I had that experience. My vibration was higher around her. I just noticed we were more in sync. Yeah. And then as she left, I'm craving, like, how do I get back to that? It's like, oh my God, like, look at what's possible. Now what?
Good question. Well, what I'm picking up on for you especially is resonance, because remember, when we're in a more collective vibration, resonate that much easily. We've always resonated in the heart. All right. So we've been a human collective vibrating at different speeds. And that's been hard for us because people have brought us down or up, or, we've been pulling people up. But now on the planet, all humans are vibrating at the same speed in alignment with the earth. And I say this and I always caveat it because people get upset. They're like, that can't be possible because there's this guy across the street who's a real jerk and he's not vibrating at the same speed as me. He's just not, through his free will, allowing that vibration to express through his experience, right? That's the difference. So the heart chakra that we have, now that we're vibrating at the same speed, you have someone like a soulmate that comes in, or a member of your cosmic family, like we were just talking about, a twin flame, and you guys are, playing off each other with that collective vibration. You're probably pulling in more cosmic energy, like oversoul stuff. That doesn't mean you can't do it on your own. That was probably a taste or a window into what your abilities are. And just because you walked away from that one being and now you're like, I need her back to do this, doesn't mean that you really do. It's just a progression, right? There's something that you're integrating, and there's some way that you need to direct this, I think, in your own life that's a little bit different than what I don't want to say she awakened you to, but I think the energetic play of that resonance helped to facilitate, right? Because when you have two people with a similar intention, both vibrating at the same speed and tapping into that, cosmic stuff that we have going on the planet, it can be, right, a pretty, crazy experience. Teleporting and telepathic exchange, that's like heightened right now in the field because of what's been happening. And here's the other thing too. The guides have been talking a lot about our chakras becoming more crystallized. Where they used to operate, they're like portals, okay? So our chakras are like little mini portals. They hold information, and they're becoming crystallized to function as one. And that makes it that much easier, because when we teleport or we're, telepathically exchanging, we're basically in a crystalline state. And I think that's what you experienced as well. You had another individual there that was also crystallized in their chakras. And what I notice in my sessions is everyone's at a different part of this. It kind of comes in interesting. Sometimes the guides will say, oh, your lower chakras, your root through the, solar plexus is crystallized, but the rest is still coming online. Or sometimes on people, it's the upper. They'll say, oh, yeah, your crown and your, throat and your heart are crystallized, and it's moving through the lower. So maybe you're in a scenario where you guys were crystallized the same. You're resonating through the heart into this collective space, and it was just easier to teleport. But you doing that with her doesn't necessarily mean that you need her in order to do that. I think you just need to find the way to direct that outside of that experience. And it's the same technology, right? It's the same technology. You're operating in a collective space. You were just amplifying the vehicle through someone else who held the same intention. Try that, right? You try it with someone else. Have a similar intention and be in two separate places and activate that vehicle and see what you pick up. It can be amazing, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Like, are we living in a dream or a fairy tale?
Well, that's what this, we're bringing the technology back online. We've been built to operate this way. We've just forgotten. So we're becoming, more crystal in our state, which is non-physical. And also the light body too. So, our physical body and our light bodies are closer in proximity, time, space, reality, than they ever have been before on this planet in a very long time, I should say. And that really is the vehicle for time travel, is the light body. So, for example, we can be sitting in the park over there, and our physical body's having an experience, and we're touching the grass, and it's cold, and it's damp, or whatever. But our light body is having an experience too. It's picking up on information from other people, animals, plants, things in the park. And now those two are coming together. So that's the technology that's coming back online, is our physical and light bodies work in concert. So we can time travel. That's the classic time travel machine. Right there is our light body and physical body, right, moving together. Yeah. Okay. Time to channel? All right, so we're going to channel. We're here from Flower of Life, and we do pass a basket. We take donations. This event is free, so if you cannot donate, please do not worry. But if you can, it goes to support all of our programs. We have a youth movement, we have an expo, we have conscious action initiatives, and a variety of other things. And also it helps us to pay for this venue. So usually we have people write questions. So this time we've got a mic. So if you have a question for the guides, raise your hand. Ethan will pass you the mic, and then you can ask the question of the guides. And we'll have many guides come in and out of this transmission. I work with so many. I work with the Council of Light, which is 12th dimensional. I work with the Pleiadians. We'll have Archangels come in, whoever is needed. I just opened a channel to the Zetas this morning. Okay. All right. We are the Council of Light. As always, we are pleased to address the collective through this transmission that is offered for humanity to continue to evolve its understanding of the way in which it is creating its reality. We are in great support of the new grid that you have evolved here upon the earth, and we want to explain so that you have the knowing of the benefit that this new grid is having on the entire relationship between the earth and the cosmos, because this new grid that is now connected multidimensionally is serving other planets and star systems through your vibration. And we know, as many of you have come to believe, that humanity is of a lower dimension and lower vibration, so it is a lower consciousness. We come to change your understanding of your identities through this analogy. You see, as you have been stabilizing this new grid, it has come through the creation of your uniqueness. Your unique energetic signature as a singular being flows through the collective and through this grid to support other realities. Because regardless of what those beings in those other realities have experienced, regardless of what transitions they have walked and what they have achieved in their vibration, they are always changing as well. There is no one race or collective of beings that is done evolving. This universe that is made up of 13 dimensions is going to continue to expand its dimensional access into other universes, into other star systems and realities. So everything that you are creating in your uniqueness that is flowing through this grid is either being used as information in other dimensions to support your continued evolution, or it is applicable in some way to how hybridization projects are being carried out in the galactic universe, or it is facilitating an understanding of the way the physical vehicle undergoes very significant vibrational changes. You see, there are many physical beings that have chosen a physical density to reside in. And that physical density is going through similar changes to what humanity is also birthing here. So it is with great reverence that we offer to you our gratitude for how you have chosen to create your reality, the results that has had on this new grid, and how that information is now flowing between the earth and other dimensions. This flow is a recent experience outside and off your planet. For many, many millenniums of time, your planet has been segmented away from a flow of information that could be captured and utilized in benefit. This old grid analogy that has been brought to your realization, it is a grid that was segmented because of its potential to harm, because the timelines that were created there were in many ways taking away the process of evolution of other beings and races, skewing timelines, or having the potential to skew them. So the Earth, as a collective, has been very separate of its own cosmic family, its own cosmic universe. It has been a receiver of through the grids of Earth. So much of what you've received here as a collective race has been activated within Mother Earth and has been connected through your chakras and through your meridians to continue your ascension. But this new grid system is a valid exchange. It is now a two-way flow of both creation and receiving, offering information to support the evolution of not just your planet, but of also the universe. Now, to complement this message, we want to speak to what we see going on within your vibrational structure, because we know that many of you who are here in physical form are desiring to change your reality through the universal time grid, the manifestation of your own consciousness, and your abilities, your divine, unique abilities as they are coming to the surface. You see, manifestation as a tool is something that is being reconfigured right now as a human collective. Every dimensional reality that you hold operates a bit differently through universal law than the previous. So in other words, the way that manifestation worked in your third dimensional reality is different from the way that manifestation works in your current dimensional reality, which we would classify as fourth. But in saying this, we want to give an analogy that dimensional reality is a fluid energy. It is different. It is difficult to measure because it is always changing. You, as a physical being within your DNA, access multiple dimensions beyond what your collective holds. So, for example, you as a physical being may have enlightened 7 strands of DNA, offering you access into 7 different dimensions. You do not hold a 7th dimensional reality in your day-to-day environment, but that 7th dimensional reality contributes to how the collective holds dimension, that dimension being fourth in the moment. That 4th dimensional reality is allowing manifestation to take place in a quicker time-space reality than it ever has before. In order for you to take advantage of this, we want to give you an analogy of the structure as it's vibrating and how it's drawing from the field that which is needed to complement itself. Because this is truly what manifestation is. Many of you believe that manifestation is receiving for the fulfillment, the joy, the love, the peace, the betterment of your own experience. And yes, it is. However, manifestation is always meeting you exactly where you are vibrationally to complement who you're becoming. If that is the case, and in the moment, you do not have a realization of who you are becoming, is it possible that you could be manifesting things to support that becoming that are not chosen by you in physical? We would say yes. This is the difference between the 3rd and the 4th dimension. You see, many of you have been manifesting or creating in the 3rd dimension in a physical, slower speed. And that physical, slower speed has brought things to your door that you believe you did not desire or you did not wish to experience. So this has caused you to think that you've done something wrong, that you have gotten the process of manifestation all wrong. And that in that judgment, you cannot possibly manifest what you need because it is a process. Manifestation is less of a process and more of a divine birthright. It flows with source energy and connects to your structure in a way that supports your evolution. So in the 4th dimension, what you may recognize is that if there is a desire, if there is something that you notice as an expression that is complementing who you know you need to become, or a resource that you know is complementing who you are to become, the recognition of that resource alone decides how it will come into your field. The recognition that that resource is absent and there's something that you must do in physical or a tool or process you must use to manifest causes the difference between it arriving in this fast pace of speed that you are now within and moving back into that slower speed of manifestation, which is the 3rd dimension. Because collective vibration works this way. It allows that which is like itself to be drawn from the collective in response to non-physical. meaning that your non-physical vibration draws and pulls from the field that which is the equilibrium of what is taking place energetically in your linear timeline. This means that often you don't see why you're manifesting what you're manifesting in the moment for who you are becoming. So the frequency to be held in order to allow manifestation to take place to support you in all of your desires is less resistance and more neutrality. Meaning that whatever is happening to you is often happening for you. That just because the relationship is undergoing some type of a dramatic change does not mean that you're in the midst of karma or there's something that you were meant to struggle through. It may mean that your new identity calls for a new vehicle of that experience, and the relationship must change. So in the midst of change, you become so caught up in resistance around the change that you do not allow the process to unfold in the way that manifestation is now working, which is always for you, collectively aligning, arranging in the field as you step forward into this new identity. So you may think, I have a new identity as a healer, but I want to take everything with me from the old identity and make it fit into the new reality, the new identity. And the laws of the universe do not work this way. The laws of the universe will provide a harmonization or an equilibrium of all vibrations to support your highest good. So in the moment, in the space that you are in as humans, trying to manifest and just seeing the manifestation are the two, we'll say, conflicting energies we want to bring into this conversation. Instead of attempting to manifest, be that identity, that being that you are becoming. Instead of placing a process within your field to manifest, see the process that is unfolding in front of you. Instead of forcing some type of change or change in the relationships around you that you believe must come with you, allow those beings or those relationships to be and change vibrationally with your experience to the degree that their free will allows. So in the fourth dimension, manifestation comes quicker when humans are in the present moment with what already shows up for them in their field, accepting it as a part of their process of ascension. We're very pleased to take questions.
What can you share with us about the Alpha Draconians? What role are they still playing in humanity, and how can we better integrate or evolve any Alpha Draconian or other reptilian DNA?
Yes, we are the Pleiadians. We are ninth dimensional, and we are a collective of beings in great service to humanity. We're pleased to answer this question. We believe that there are many humans on this planet who see this Alpha Draconian or reptilian energy as still present. When you look at your outer world, of course, there are experiences and timelines that are still vibrating in that energy. But we want to make some very important points about what's taking place within the collective that is causing the changes that you will see as the release of this energy from your planet. First, we want to put this in the analogy of physical to non-physical, because many of you believe that physical action must be taken in order to bring these beings to justice and remove the timeline energy that is holding you in restriction of your sovereignty. As physical beings with a physical focus, we understand why you would believe this. But according to the message of the council that was just brought in, everything that you are creating is formed in vibration first, before it manifests in physical form. There are several key factors that are already breaking down this collective energy as it has taken hold of your planet. And we want to explain what this is and how to continue to facilitate this as singular beings. We understand that many of you take the belief or the vantage point that you are only one person. And as one person, there is not much that you can do to affect what this reptilian collective has been creating through you as a vehicle. And we first wish to say that everything that you do in your singular reality, every decision that you make, every belief that you expand, is the impetus for this grid coming down. You, as a creative being of light, taking back your power or your sovereignty and seeing your free will as a tool, as a vehicle here, has been the vibrational impetus for a hierarchical pattern that exists within the earth to disband. Reptilian energy, first of all, relies very much on a hierarchical pattern that keeps a human focused in singularity, or masculine energy. The reason for this is that the reptilian consciousness or structure is a creative essence through the mind. This is a beautiful aspect of how this race is able to manifest and create. They do not require an emotional body. It is not because they don't need emotions to feel empathy. It is because they've evolved past where that emotional body could assist them. But what happened when this reptilian collective came to the earth was that the lack of the emotional body in a dimension that required it caused them to focus you into the mind and into physical to play out the scenarios, allowing them to create and allowing them to strengthen their collective energy. So divine feminine is a catalyst for how this reptilian grid is also coming down. Because emotional body frequency, in a sense of the singular structure, enables this reptilian energy to not flow through you in the same way it has before. Humanity has been very unconscious of the way it has been creating. You have been subject to schooling. That schooling has caused a pattern for you to run of going to more schooling and choosing a specific outlet for that schooling that would allow you to manifest more physical types of energy. And because the mind drove that creation, you've continued on a journey of driving through the mind or the mental organism to create. If you are to take a step back energetically and begin to feel the way that you have created here and tap into the desire, the feeling of what you desire to create here. These are the first steps in how this reptilian consciousness cannot access your structure. We want to bring in some collective analogies as well. We would say that first, the planetary alignments that have been spoken of in this transmission that are causing an equilibrium of vibration on your planet between all beings is the first impetus for this hierarchical pattern to break down. All humans vibrating in the same speed do not allow access of reptilian energies to create through. And they also cannot access your physical field energetically without a physical component. So in other words, reptilian energy relies on physical to access physical. You are becoming far more non-physical than you ever have before. That non-physical focus is making it more difficult for reptilian energy to access and create through you. The awakenings that you have had in your singular structure have been the impetus for this hierarchical pattern breaking down. Because no longer can you be awake and aware and conscious of your own creations and allow the mind to take over. So the hierarchical patterns that we see breaking down are causing the breakdown of this old grid system. It has always been disconnected from universal support, but nonetheless, it has still been connected to the earth. Many of the hierarchical patterns that uphold reptilian or archonic energy, such as your very large corporations, financial institutions, and all of these physical tools, will also be subject to this vibrational shift. The reptilian collective that exists here cannot be brought to justice in your collective. This is a very important message that we want all of you to understand. You believe that you must bring to justice all of the things that have gone wrong here due to this reptilian connection. What we would say is that the dimension you reside in operates in a universal law that is different than their collective. They cannot be brought to justice through your planetary experience. They must also ascend with you and exit through the new grid system to be reintroduced to their own collective and serve their karma in that energy. So if you are to let go of the resistance you hold around justice that has not been served, you surrender the energy to allow universal law to work for you here on this planet. We see that this process is already taking place. So we want to bring you the comfort in knowing that the trajectory that we see already unfolding is that this hierarchical process coming down cannot be stopped. In other words, the motion of energy that is carrying it into its final phases is so intense and so strong harmonically that you are in the midst of removing this energy from your planet. We know that the next question will be, how long will it take? How long will it take to remove this reptilian energy from our planet? It is difficult for us to project that. We see many potentials here, and the more that humanity creates in this new grid, the more the exit of these reptilians and the ascension of them through the new grid is likely to take place.
As you start to ascend on your journey and your mission continues, and you're trying to find your tribe to spread your message that you're trying to spread, and maybe you forgot that message and it comes back and forth to you, how do you progress that path in the, I don't want to say the fastest way possible, but a smooth and steady path?
Yes, we get Archangel Michael to answer this question. He's very pleased to step into this transmission. You see, as humans, as souls, you have been led down a path of creation that is equal to some type of a result or success here on your planet. So when you begin to get the notion that ascension is about some type of an end result or a success or uncovering something within you that you're here to do and must do, and if you don't do, the planet will perish, you're only in a deep resistance of allowing the unfolding process to take you on the journey of ascension. So you're speaking about two different things here that we want to clarify. First, we want to say that every unique being within them is coded to different experiences to enhance their ability. So here you may be, as a human being, as a vehicle for healing, for example, a conduit. And that vehicle or conduit of healing has a notion of what they're here to do and how they're here to do it, and a process unfolds. Well, then, several months down the road, another phase or a window of ascension, an opportunity, comes to your vibrational doorstep. And this may cause you to let go of some of the ideas, the beliefs, the notions that you had, to momentarily focus on something that you're bringing in that's here to complement who you've been and what you've done in the past. So it's not as if a soul forgets their mission, their path, or what they're here to do. They're always just complementing it in the field by bringing more to the table, by expanding through transition to allow that which they are creating in their uniqueness to unfold as humanity calls for it, because this is the second part of the equation, is that in the same way that planetary alignments come to offer an opportunity for humanity to evolve, and humanity has the free will to choose that path or not choose that path. You are in your human form through your free will, accepting also a calling from humanity in a similar way that the planets come to complement the collective. So as the collective is calling forth from you something new that is needed, or a need is identified in the collective that must be manifested through a conduit, you may be directed into another pathway, another avenue for understanding. So our advice to you is to not get too caught up on having an end result or in some way not being in the right place at the right time to facilitate that which you feel is the most critical element of your being in this timeline. Your being in this timeline is evolving. Your being in this timeline is picking up on fragments in the field and accentuating its path. Be in peace with your ascension, knowing that there is nothing you get wrong, even if you choose through your free will to not take the opportunity that arises before you. You will be redirected to another because source energy flows through you as a catalyst for expanding God. And God is and always has and will be the essence of this universe, calling for the expansion through every being that accepts this energy. So go in peace with this and know that everything that you are picking up on in the field will be magnetizing its likeness, pulling forth from what you've done in the past and making sense of it in a new dimensional light or experience. That you're creating timelines now that are a blend or a mix of who you've been before and who you are becoming.
We use the terms crystal, indigo, starseed. Are we really just saying that over the past 30 years, there's been an ever-increasing frequency and vibration of those choosing to incarnate? And then the second part is about children. So are all children being born of this higher frequency? And is it just the karma and environment that keeps them from being in touch or aware of their abilities?
Yes, this is Mary Magdalene. She wants to answer both of these questions for you, and she's very pleased to step into this transmission. She says that it is interesting that humanity enjoys classifying these children because there are many of you who have come in waves or groups of vibrational experience, meaning that you come coded to a specific type of healing experience. You chose a timeline to orchestrate with many others that was going to facilitate something on the earth that would enable it to expand. And this is ultimately what these children are here for. They are a collective of beings coded to the same vibrational intention to heal or expand the earth for the betterment of all humans and, of course, the universe. Now, the interesting thing that you see about their energy that causes you to code them as rainbow or indigo, for example, is the way in which their vibrational structure is coded. These codes, we call them, are only the allowance of a specific cosmic energy to flow to the earth. So, for example, rainbow children, they are crystalline in their core such that they are using all dimensional realities or having access to all of those dimensional realities in their current linear experience. This is why the rainbow energy is observed by many who can see their energy field. It is the representation of all of the dimensional realities showing in color. This access that they hold is significant to their intention because many of the rainbow children come as catalysts of information. They come as teachers. They come here with the ability to expand consciousness, and they have many vehicles or outlets for that energy. The indigo children are a bit different in the vibration that they hold. They are a consciousness with a similar intention. Many of them come with a very extrasensory ability to tune in or tap into cosmic energy as a healer. We want to call this a connection to the oversoul. The oversoul is a container or a perception for universal access. It works a bit differently as a conduit than the rainbow children, for example, but nonetheless, it is an energy that is held within them to tap in as a conduit to cosmic energy, bringing it to the planet to manifest in a healing technology or a healing type of transmission. They are also holding within them an energy of light that they exchange with humanity. So those indigo children that are here, when you step into their presence as an adult, you're often receiving an automatic telepathic exchange or healing just by being present in their energy. We see that many of the indigos have some of the most difficult experiences here managing the information that they come with the access to. Now, you've asked the question, Why are these children struggling, and what is the plight of their intention on this planet? How can we bring them to more peace with the assignments that they have chosen? This is a question that we want to bring into several different perspectives, because we know that as humans, you often vision into your experience as a very linear path. You come here with one assignment to carry out, and that one assignment is carried out in one very similar way, and you attract many around you to support that assignment. You see, the soul of these children is what you are seeing playing out in the struggle that's taking place on your planet. So intention is multidimensional. Intention comes through in different vehicles or perceptions. So as a soul, if these crystal children came to the planet to evolve humanity, perhaps they took on a plight or a path in their soul that was something dense or difficult that was going to make a physical change here, complementing what they're bringing in non-physically. We'll give you an example of this. Many of them are having difficulty in their learning institutions. They're having a difficulty with their emotional bodies. They're having a difficulty finding harmony with other children. This may be a very difficult struggle in their lives, the lives of their parents, the lives of the souls in those institutions. But nonetheless, it is still a part of the intention they're carrying out to create change in the physical, in the soul vibration, that is allowing their energy to come through in a more galactic way. So we're stepping through their experience and different perceptions to show you that they're not just here as these enlightened beings to carry out enlightened things, that to come here as an enlightened being, they had to accept a soul experience, and that soul experience has to relate to what they're here to do. So many of them are the catalyst for change in soul contracts, such as parents or teachers, the entire human collective, institutions, healing, for example. And they're coming to teach humanity about vibration and the way the physical body adapts to vibration. Many of these children have carried these imprints into the earth at times when they are very young in age. In other words, they're carrying out the soul perspective of their intention at the ages in which they are in the most vulnerability. Because on the other side of that intention, into their more adolescent or adult years, they have very large and important assignments here on the earth to carry out that are cosmic. And so they're laying the groundwork right now for allowing those assignments to come in, because you as humans are not the beings that will allow what they are here to offer to the planet. So their soul vibration is first laying the groundwork by changing the humans that are here to adapt the earth to allow what they are yet to bring in. So there's always an interplay between that and what the galactic energy that they bring in is here to serve. They are not here to learn about their relationship to humans as different, so much as they are to set the norm for the new humanity. We believe that there are many other collectives of children that will come to this earth beyond the ones that were named in this experience today. These collectives are in hybrid form and are on planets and star systems that are ready to enter this field and become united in the force that are here to accentuate the earth experience.
Spoke of the events earlier. What does that look like to you? And does that include solar flares and disclosures that others speak of?
The council steps in and they're pleased to explain this. Many of you on the planet are referring to this event as the end-all be-all of your evolution. We just call it another phase of your reality that is causing the energetic attunements you require in order to become the new humans that you have agreed to step into. The event, for sake of a timeline, we will describe to you, because we know that many of you see in linear, and you desire an end, a beginning and an end to what these experiences hold or what they have been. The event, as it's been described on your planet, has been, in our mind, an opening and a disconnection of the old grid and a reconnection of the new. So even though the old grid has been fully disconnected from the universe, we believe that the old grid's separation from the earth in a way that's harmonic has been the impetus of this event that you call it. And let's explain to you what we mean by the word harmonic. The earth holds a resonance. Many of you understand this. It's a sound harmonic. It can be measured, and it is raising through many of the planetary experiences and solar frequencies that you have experienced. That harmonic is what stabilizes the energy. It holds the dimension. It allows humans to vibrate in a certain way, and it allows universal law to work in a certain way. This old grid harmonic is no longer the same as the earth. And this was a critical part of what you coined the event that we see has happened energetically. It's the beginning of the movement of this, we'll call material or physical grid, away from the earth, where the new grid stabilization has actually created this two-way flow that has been described in the opening message. This two-way flow is also supported by the new harmonic resonance within Earth. There have been many catalysts for this that have been explained. The pole reversal is one, and this is still taking place within Mother Gaia. So there's been a vibrational intention within Gaia to shift the poles, which is actually a reversal of dimensional information and the way that dimensional information flows through her grids. We know this is confusing, but think of it this way. If you were to raise in your dimension and all of a sudden access an incredible extrasensory tool or gift that you didn't know you had, this would mean that you were changing the dimension of your reality. You were actually focused in a new dimension. Often what happens on a planet is that the collective becomes very stagnant in its ability to create. And even though it's ascending and raising its dimension, it's having a difficult time applying that information in its current reality. This was why the poles energetically began to shift their resonance and their spots, bringing in within the earth new dimensional information to support humanity. It was an influx for many of you of cosmic information. This is why many on your planet were predicting that this event would be the end-all be-all of disclosure, because this cosmic energy or reversal of the poles bringing in new dimensional information would allow these beings to appear in physical. What we wish to say is that these beings are present and have been present for quite some time. The more that this new grid is stabilized, the more the portals are adjusting to allow beings in and out of your Earth experience. This is accentuating your vibration. But disclosure in itself is something that's been limited in the minds of humans. You believe it is the showing up of physical beings on your planet in physical form. We believe it's merely the awakening of your inner technology to communicate beyond this earth, which, as you know, many of you are already doing. Now, this event, we would say, also was facilitated by very significant solar energies that were raising that harmonic. So the harmonic within Earth was affected by the information flowing from the sun or the solar frequencies as a sound vibration, lifting that resonance. This event, as it has been experienced on your planet, is going to lead you into a new way of being, a new way of thinking. It wasn't just a raise of dimension, even though that was part of it. It was actually a grounding of a new dimension here. So as the Pleiadians were speaking about dimensions, such as holding a fourth dimensional reality here on this planet, but not maybe being able to measure it, what we've seen is a shift going on, a push and pull of different dimensional realities in the same experience. And many of you may relate to this in your physical realities. You still have timelines holding on that are more third dimensional or reptilian in nature. You visit them every day, people, places, and things. You also have fourth or fifth dimensional timelines that you have created that are quite different. and you can recognize the polar opposite of those energies. This is what essentially was happening in a collective way. And now you're moving more towards holding this fourth dimensional space to lead into what this new grid is allowing. You may ask, well, when will the fifth dimension be here? It is already here. Many of you are creating timelines that are fifth dimensional. It just can't be held in the collective yet because the entire collective has not raised its dimension to the same space in which that information exists. So ultimately, we believe that you're beyond some of the most significant alignments, even though the poles are still shifting and allowing their experience to move timeline realities. You as a human race are at the crux of using this, what you have coined the event, as the catalyst for new creation. Was that the question about the reptilians that caused that? Sorry, I had to pop back in.
This question is about autistic children. What can diet, nutrition have the potential to do to support the soul level experience of autistic children?
Yes, the Arcturians step in and they're very pleased to answer this question. First of all, we wish to say that children who are diagnosed as autistic also have very unique experiences within that definition. So it is difficult for us to address every child that has been given this diagnosis, knowing that although they have similar criteria or similar characteristics, they're not all the same in their energetic reality. And some of them may have been misdiagnosed as this disease on your human planet has been defined. The essential, we'll say, baseline or common thread that we see in many autistic children is that they are heightened in their extrasensory abilities from a more cosmic standpoint. Similar to the analogy that was brought in of the Indigo children, having access to all of the dimensional realities on this earth in one linear timeline, autistic children typically have more access to dimensional information than the rest of the collective. They're, as the example of the light body that was given, taken in more sound harmonics that cannot be heard by the naked ear, more telepathic information or thoughts that exchange between two beings. The resonance of the heart on them is a very wide potential to accept and hold this vibrational information. So what we believe is that they are barraged each day by so much information in the field that this isn't necessarily the problem, but is the catalyst for what's happening on your earth to shift the reality of the planet. Because like the Crystalline Indigo children, they come in with an intention as well in their soul vibration. And this intention is really directed at the natural resources of your earth. So you have asked, can diet, for example, change the reality of an autistic children? We believe that it can, and this is how it works. You see, the injection of toxins on your planet has caused a reconfiguration of the energetic patterns within any physical structure or non-physical structure. These toxins, especially metals, are reflected of the sun, and they do not allow the expansion of that human to take place in their physical vehicle. In other words, the reason that metals are injected or are here on your planet as a tool of reptilian or archonic consciousness is that it keeps humanity from using the tools that it has, expanding through the solar energies and the information the solar energies bring. So in other words, if these children did not have the metal toxins in their body that they have to the degree that are there, they could process more of the information that they are assimilating. In other words, the overwhelm that they feel is that their extrasensory tools and gifts aren't able to take in and adjust to all of the information that they have access to because the information within the metals in their life or in their bodies are limiting that ability. It's like higher dimensional beings that are non-physical. They do not require any physical interaction. Many of them exist in a love-based frequency where they have a thought and that thought complements the entire collective. These beings are picking up on thoughts that don't assist the entire collective. And further, because of the metal or the information that they have within them that's resistant to being able to neutralize that information, it becomes very discordant in their field. So when you bring in a higher vibrational diet for a child like this, what's happening at the energetic level, and we'll talk about physical as well, is that the patterns that exist in discordance that are causing the confusion of the influx of non-physical versus physical information become stabilized. That's because natural resources that were seeded here on your planet are cosmic vibrations. They are 12th dimensional in nature if they are untainted or manipulated by man-made frequencies, like metals, for example. These are causing an equilibrium. So when these resources, these natural resources, come into the field of the body, they often will clear or detoxify some of the metals or the discordant patterns that are not allowing that child to resonate in their highest speed. So we think about autistic children perhaps resonating above the collective, and they are. The problem is they can't bring that resonance into their physical field and use it as an applicable tool. And this type of dietary change will allow that to take place. But in physical, we want to say also that there are patterns at the cellular level that are changed, and the DNA patterns will also mimic those changes when we have man-made toxins coming into the body. So the DNA on an autistic child or a crystalline or rainbow child is very vulnerable and exposed. It's a higher calibrated DNA. So when we inject something into the child that is different than that crystalline structure, it's going to affect that structure that much more vulnerably. So think of these children as being extra sensitive to these toxins. This is why some children are classified as autistic and others may be exposed to very similar types of foods or toxins and have no issues, because there's a vulnerability. And that vulnerability lies at the cellular level and in the DNA. So an influx of higher vibrational foods or even a gentle detoxification of the information in the body will bring that divine genome back into a regular pattern. And that regular pattern isn't regular for humanity, it is regular for their higher vibrational abilities to ground them into the earth and help them to function in the way that is comfortable for them as members of these galactic families of light that you all are.
Thank you. My question is, when in my past and then currently, if I try to move forward toward something, a goal, whatever, manifest, whatever, and I feel blocked or is it because of coding or my DNA or karma? I know you've already addressed this a little bit, but I'm just
Let's
wondering.
break this down. The Arcturians are still here, and they want to talk about this because they believe that you're very predisposed to patterns, and this would be something that would be helpful for you to understand. We've talked a little bit about resistance here. When we're trying to manifest something, that trying is usually because we're in resistance of what is. We believe that we need something to change the present moment, and so we want to bring that into our world in order to change our reality. The first thing we want to say is that neutrality or present moment awareness and acceptance, surrender of what is the catalyst for source energy to work through the grids to allow you to manifest. So no manifestation tool, process, or projection through time will be successful unless you are in a moment of surrender, a moment of acceptance with what is. That being said, you've asked the question about blocks. There's something that I'm trying to manifest and I get blocked. There are a variety of different reasons that humans experience blocks when they are creating or attempting to manifest something. You've asked if this is karmic. We would say that, again, remember, karmic experiences are opportunities for you as a free will sovereign being to take you back into another opportunity directing you through source energy. Sometimes these show up to clear our path, to prepare for who we are becoming. And sometimes we are blocked because that energy is meant to be not what we think it is in the end-all be-all of our relationship to time, but just an announcement. Oftentimes we see that beings will receive a message in the field of something that is important, and they will step into that and embrace it, thinking this is the end all be all of my path, and I must take this and make it work for me. But what's happening really is that teachers' experiences, things are showing up to, as a mirror, complement your identity. So these paths may be blocked when they show up for you because they've already served their purpose. Just the announcement of what it is recalibrated you to something new, or to open yourself up to receive another complementing energy, you see. The other pattern that we note, that we want to bring in, that we feel is really important, is when you have a path such as physical healing that you're trying to promote, or there's an absence of something like a relationship or finance in your life, or even if you have something like an addictive pattern that you're trying to get rid of. Humanity often gets so wound up in the timeline that needs to be changed that they don't realize how much density and resistance they're creating around that timeline. You see, patterns of energy repeat. So when there's something we're trying to manifest, give up, change, heal, and we're in that pattern constantly trying to make it happen, we strengthen the pattern of what is, as opposed to bringing in something other than that energy. And often it's more advantageous to create a new timeline or bring in something new that overrides the existence of something we're in lack of or need to change. So if you find yourself hitting up against roadblocks in the field, we would say move your attention away from whatever that thing is that you're trying to manifest, change, or receive, and open your potential to place your focus and your consciousness elsewhere into a timeline you expand that brings you fulfillment or joy or excitement, because these are the beneficial vibrational experiences that override. Humanity now is stepping into a new experience. It is more collectively based, and it is less attuned to healing and more attuned to activating information. Many of you, in your attempt to heal, have actually been activating the same information over and over and over again. And activation takes place not because we're doing the same thing. It takes place because we bring in something new. So our advice to you is to let go of the resistance around that pattern and even put it aside for a little while and invest your currency into something new. Move your energy differently so that the patterns change. Because when the patterns change, an influx of source energy will open the field, and what you'll find is whatever it was you needed to be healed either doesn't matter so much anymore or has changed in its vibration to something new. Yes.
I was in a meditation and I could feel like machinery being removed from my physical body, and I was wondering if you could talk about that.
Okay, the Pleiadians come in and they say, there are many experiences that humans will have traveling through time, and these timeline travels are accentuated by your breath. When you are using a tool like meditation, what you are entering is a plasmic state, and that plasmic state allows exchange. It is stepping into a portal energy through which you are meeting beings in real time, either in non-physical or in physical, and allowing an experience to happen. We consider that your experience was this. It was moving through space and time to receive assistance with something that needed to be accentuated in your field. Now, when we're in this plasmic state, we're often in a higher vibration. So when the experience is taking place, we might not have the framework in our consciousness to understand exactly what that experience is. It may be a healing or a recalibration of something in our field, but our consciousness will grasp onto it as a machinery or as a part of a car, for example, to give us a reference point for what exactly happened. So what we want to clarify is that what you experienced was essentially a retuning of your vibration and a removal of dense patterns or discordance that was in your structure. But your consciousness brought that plasmic experience back to you as something relatable, which was a removal of technology or a removal of machinery in a way that didn't serve you any longer.
Question for Archangel Michael or Vishnu or Kalki. Some of us are willing to take swift positive action against the darkest entities and lower consciousnesses that we feel is limiting the free will of us on planet Earth. What is the fastest way to make them leave, quarantine, or heal them, as well as to fully take back our power immediately?
We have Vishnu here to answer this question. You see, humans who are taking swift action in the physical, especially that are not aligned with the higher consciousness, are only accentuating what lies within that energy. In other words, you have become very attuned as a human collective to using your vibration through physical means, but the physical means are how the access is found in these experiences. Many of you believe that you are taking on the negative energy or the discordance of these beings as well. So swift action may result in a separation in physical from these beings. What we would rather you understand is that you are the highest vibrational forms of light in motion. And those higher vibrational forms of light in motion, when they intend or direct their consciousness to shift the vibration of another, is made so. Instead of separating yourself or taking physical action in discordance to separate or segment your reality, allow your vibration to carry itself into the field of that which is in discordance. And in saying this, we want to clarify that it is not as if we are asking you to accept or take on any form of physical abuse or negation of your own will, but that you realize you make more of an impact in inclusion than you do in seclusion or restriction.
Did you conclude the session?
Yes, we're the Pleiadians. In love and light and support for humanity, we're very pleased to be with you in this vibrational space. We honor you for who you are and who you are becoming. We are here in great support of you as you continue this transition on the earth, and many blessings as you go in peace. Okay. Any questions about anything? Channeling. Yes. Microphone.
So you talked about people being like in a plasmic space or that.
Yes.
Do you remember everything when you channel? No? Okay. That was quick.
No, but I do. Yeah. I mean, I get little
pieces. Okay.
Sure.
So is like a dream state akin to that?
Yes.
And then my second question is, because just thinking, is everyone's perception their own universe in a way, or I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'll just touch on that real quick. I think more and more we're entering this plasmic state. So the way I understand it is this, and I actually had some interesting information come in about vortexes versus portals when we were in Sedona, and they said that in a vortex, you're able to telepathically exchange. So a lot of us can do this, right? We can talk to beings, we can exchange, and a vortex just accentuates that. But they said when you're in a portal, you're actually in a plasmic state in real time, experiencing these beings and exchanging. And so our plasma, when we go on a ship, for example, if anyone's had a ship experience, we enter that ship in a plasmic state. So our physical is still here, but the plasmic identity of us is in another dimension. So when we come back, that plasma is stored within us. So that ship experience is within us. And this is why a lot of children that have had experiences, they forget. Like for me, I had, unbeknownst to me, been on many ships as a child, but that plasma came up in me and that remembrance came up in me as I raised my consciousness. So just recently have I had remembrance of those experiences. So yes, when you're dreaming, I believe your light body is traveling because we go into that deep state of breath. We let go, we surrender our consciousness, our ego, our light body travels, and we bring that plasma back to us and we interpret in a dream, right? And that dream, we shift or we sift through our consciousness. So it's concepts that we have available to us, which may have looked a little different in that other dimension or that plasmic state. And it's not to say you're wrong, but it's kind of like what's happening here on the planet with the Mandela effect, if you're familiar. Time is moving faster. So the memories that we made in the past exist in a slower speed than what we're vibrating at, and that's why we can't remember them or they look different. We take the fragments of that memory and we put it together in a higher speed and it looks a little bit different or it doesn't fit anymore. That's kind of how our plasma is. It travels beyond us and it brings information back to us. What was your second question?
It's just something I always thought about. Does each person's perception create kind of their reality?
Absolutely. I mean, our linear perception is a holographic reality, but it's, we create it, no question. And they talk about those containers, right? Even our collective vibration is a hologram because no one in this room perceives the collective the same way. And we think, oh, well, we see the same things happening on the news. No, it's a sound harmonic and it travels differently through every being. So, our cosmic relationship, our oversoul, our soul container, and our collective vibration, we filter it through our consciousness and we're all unique. So we can't possibly be having the same experience. But when we come together in a room like this, we are matching intentions. So we all had something that brought us here today that pulled that vibration together to have a collaborative experience. And this is how things happen on our planet. Like, we have wars and, disasters and things. We have souls that have similar intentions that magnetize a collective experience. But even though those souls are in the same experience, none of them perceive it in exactly the same way. Yeah. Okay, well, it was my pleasure to connect for all of you today. Thank you for coming. We have snacks and juice outside, and then we have a marathon day. We have Ethan and Barb next doing an energy transfer, and we have Jaylene here from California. If you've not seen Jaylene, definitely stay. She's going to do a DNA activation, and she works with the Mantis and the Arcturians. She's amazing. All right? Okay, thank you.